Hey, this is Scott Spears, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of The Exchange, joined each and every week by Matt Morgan and 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and it is a special week to be sure. It is the week of the Democratic National Convention. That's why our friend Christian Pearson is not here. He is in Chicago right now, having a great time at the convention, and he will be back with us next week, and we'll have a whole lot of questions for him in regard to what the experience was like, and he's going to bring back a lot of the placards and swag, as they call it, merchandise from the Democratic Convention. So we'll have Christian with us next week again, and he'll share all that with us. We have a bit of breaking news here. As of an hour ago, we're taping this on Wednesday night. Now, this was the story this morning. Robert F. Kennedy's presidential campaign is considering ending its independent bid for the White House to back former President Donald Trump, Kennedy's running mate Nicole Shanahan said in an interview published Tuesday. Shanahan told the business podcast Impact Theory that the Kennedy campaign is weighing whether to stay in the 2024 presidential race and if it means their independent campaign could cost Trump the election. There's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of Kamala Harris and a Walz presidency. Or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump. Polls have shown that Kennedy campaign is pulling more supporters from voters who otherwise would back Trump rather than would be Harris voters. Still, a Pew Research analysis found that Harris's recent bump in support has come in part from people who previously leaned toward the Kennedy campaign. So that's interesting to know. In the final analysis here, Shanahan said, is the risk of a Kamala Harris presidency worth us staying in? That's the question we have to ask ourselves right now, Shanahan questioned in the interview. The 38-year-old attorney also suggested that Kennedy could find a place in the Trump administration as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services if he dropped his presidential bid. I could envision a situation in which Bobby goes and he does an incredible job with, for example, HHS, Human Health Services, Shanahan said. I think that Bobby in that role would be excellent. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, published shortly thereafter, Kennedy said he was willing to talk with the leaders of any political party to further the goals of his campaign. Now, all that being said, that's the old story of an hour ago. Again, we're taping this Wednesday night. Kennedy, it's not totally confirmed, but it looks as if on Friday he will be dropping out of the campaign and endorsing Donald Trump. That's what all the little bugs are saying. It's not a done deal yet, but they're ironing out everything. So according to this story, and according to what Shanahan said, and according to what it looks like is going to happen on Friday, I'm guessing Bobby Kennedy Jr. got offered this position in the health department if Trump should win the election. Mary Ellen, that was a mouthful. What do you think of Bobby Kennedy is not going to have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas.
No, his family's done with him, I think.
What do you make of this turn of events? Did Trump have to do this? He's sinking in the polls. Did he have to do something to get some numbers, get something going on?
Well, it's hard to tell what he's thinking when he does something. That could have been it. I don't know. But he's desperate. You can tell that.
It's very interesting. If you're interested, a real clear politics average of national polls shows Kennedy garnering roughly 12% of the vote. But the environmental lawyer's campaign is quickly running out of money. Recent filings with the Federal Election Commission showed only a small gap between the amount of the campaign owned and how much it's raised. At the end of last month, Kennedy's operation had $3.9 million and owed close to $3.5 million.
Oh, that ends a lot of campaigns.
That'll put your campaign in trouble when you're about to go into debt.
Right.
By the way, Liz Smith, a communications advisor with the Democratic National Committee, responded to Shanahan's comments, saying that Independent wasn't even pretending to be a serious VP candidate anymore. Shanahan wasn't pretending to be a candidate anymore. From the beginning of this race, we've said that RFK Jr. is nothing more than a spoiler for Donald Trump, and we're glad that his running mate is finally admitting it, Smith said. So that's what the Democratic Party said. Was he a spoiler for Donald Trump?
Well, it doesn't sound like it if he's joining up with him.
Well, it's interesting to me, if he was polling 12%, that's
quite a bit.
That's quite a bit. And but where is this 12%? As I want to know. I mean, is it in Wisconsin? Is it in Pennsylvania? Is it in Michigan? Or is it in other places?
Is that after Harris was involved, or was that before?
I believe so.
It's currently?
I believe it's current.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's average.
Yeah.
Now, but who's to say just because Kennedy says vote for Donald Trump that his people will? Don't you think they'll be a little ticked off here, Mary Ellen?
I don't know. I think they're probably nuts to start with.
Yeah. There you go. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, yeah, I think that a lot of, sorry, I forgot his name for a second. A lot of RFK's people are going to I think they're going to be upset with him, because I think that a lot of them were going to originally go RFK because he wasn't Trump and he wasn't Biden, which was a contention at the very beginning. But now Biden's gone, and now I think that with RFK dropping out of the race and heading to Trump, I think a lot of people who didn't really like either party, I think that it might. I think that a lot of people from RFK's fan base, I guess, are probably going to vote for Kamala.
You think they'll go with Kamala and not Trump, even though RFK is going to probably be out there campaigning for Trump if this goes as it's supposed to?
I mean, I guess I didn't do the polls. I do know that the polls said.
No, you could be right. I don't know what these people will do.
But I mean, I just think that, like, if I would think that if they were going to vote for Trump, they would have voted for Trump with or without RFK getting in the race. So now with RFK being in the race, I don't know why you would choose RFK over Trump if you wanted Trump to win.
Well, it's interesting because the Pew Research analysis recently found that Harris's recent bump in support has come in part from people who previously leaned toward the Kennedy campaign. So, will they take it back because Kennedy himself says, "I like Trump"?
I don't think so. I think that that the people are jumping ship, let's say, and it seems that I assume there will be a fair portion who vote for Trump because RFK is campaigning for him, but I think that there's going to be a fair portion that also vote for Kamala. I don't know which was going to be the majority, but I mean like the thing said, like, people are already from independent campaigns are heading to the Democrats.
Well, this becomes an interesting question for me. Two questions, actually. The convention is over. The Republican convention is over, so RFK can't speak there. So other than going out and doing stump speeches for Trump, what can he do at this point besides have this press conference Friday and endorse him? Is Robert Kennedy drawing crowds where he goes? Is he going to draw big crowds for Trump across this country in the next 70-something days?
I doubt it.
Honestly, I don't know what kind of crowds he was drawing when he was running for president. And once Kamala got into the race, like, independents just went quiet. Didn't hear anything about him.
Doesn't this say something about independent candidates, though, really? they really, people say third party. Well, what is a third party? I think we're learning that third party is just my way to get a job. And Mary Ellen, what are the chances, after hearing this, that he hasn't been offered a job by Trump?
Well, that's probably right, but do you think Trump will really do that?
I don't know.
He could offer it, and then it never happens.
That's right. Can you trust him?
No.
And clearly, the Democrats were not interested in even talking to Kennedy, so they must not fear him in any way.
That's a good point, because that tells you something right there.
Because Kennedy said himself on X, which was formerly Twitter, he said, "I'd talk to either party." And Democrats said, basically, "We don't want to talk to you. We think you're a phony to begin with."
I think there's a fair bit of people who are voting for RFK because of the Kennedy name. It's just they probably don't know a lot of politics, don't keep up with it, and they heard Kennedy, and they were going to vote for him. I think that people are going to be shocked. Like, I know it's been in the news cycle now, but I think I think people will be surprised to some extent when he does, because the Kennedy name is so linked to the Democratic Party.
But as somebody who supports a Kennedy for the Kennedy lineage, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Sr., Ted Kennedy, are they Trump voters, Mary Ellen?
No, the whole family's against him.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if this will have significance or not. I guess we'll have to see what the polls say. And will these people who just want to vote third party, will they show up for Jill Stein, who still will be in there for the Green Party, and Chase Oliver, who is in there for the Libertarian Party? Will they just say, hey, there's other third party choices here. Will we see a bump for them?
I mean, yeah, I think you very well could. I don't know that it'll be, super noticeable, but I think that there's a fair chance that somebody's bound to go that way.
It's an interesting story on the whole, but in the final analysis, do you think it's going to help Trump a whole lot?
No, I don't really think it will. I think there's a fair chance that it might even backfire and help Kamala, because Trump has already been president once and he lost the previous election. So the people who wanted to go with Kennedy, they had the chance to get Trump a second time, and now I guess now they have a chance to get him a third time. But it seems at least that they didn't want him the second time. So I don't know why. I don't know that RFK holds that much sway over his voters.
Mary Ellen, in the final analysis, do you think it will do anything for Trump to have RFK endorse him?
No.
No. So that's where that goes, and we'll see what happens. And it's not a done deal yet. I guess they're still talking back and forth. I guess we'll see what happens as we head into Friday. Now, the Democratic Convention, again, we're taping this on Wednesday night, so we have not seen the speeches by Nancy Pelosi or Bill Clinton or Tim Walz or Kamala Harris at this point, or Pete Buttigieg. But those seem to be the ones that people are waiting to see. And also, who is going to bring Kamala Harris onto the stage Thursday night seems to be a big question, because a lot of people feel it's going to be Christian Pearson, who's been calling into the radio show. There's some talk that it's going to be some big celebrity.
Oh.
Maybe a Beyonce.
Oh.
There's even been talk of Taylor Swift, of course. We don't know.
Okay.
Mary Ellen, do you think that would be a good way to go to bring her? Because I don't think it's going to be her husband, because he's already spoke. I don't think it's going to be anybody else in her family. It's not going to be Joe Biden. He was already there Monday. It's not going to be any of the former presidents. They will have already spoken. Bill Clinton's going to bring Walz on tonight. So, do you think it's a big celebrity name?
It could be. I have no idea.
Do you think it would help?
Anything helps. Anything. If it's Beyonce or Taylor Swift, that's terrific.
Beyonce gave permission for Kamala to use the song that she's using at her rallies, so that could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they mention her every once in a while. She's mentioned,
I think, there are a lot of celebrities there. We saw a lot of them in the roll call last night, and a lot of them are hosting the event each night. So it's very interesting. I think it's fascinating because last time we talked, well, let's play this out by night here. But night one did happen. The big speakers on night one were Hillary Clinton, and we said goodbye to Joe Biden. It was kind of his farewell party. Mary Ellen, we had a lot of talk about Hillary. Would she speak? Would she be well received? Yeah. What did you make of Hillary Clinton, night number one?
She did a great job. She had a wonderful speech. She was well received, tremendous, and it was a wonderful speech.
And just because we've talked about this so much, how did she look? How was the hair? How were the clothes?
The hair was just fine.
She knew what she was doing.
The clothes was she looked very good.
Matt, you've been a fan of Hillary Clinton. You said you wanted her to run again this year. You liked her in 2016 when you couldn't vote. What did you make of Hillary really being the first big name to speak at the convention on Monday night?
I think that is probably one of the best speeches that I've ever heard in politics, just period, honestly. It was good. She took shots at Trump. I think she played the cards really well in the speech. It was magnificent. She
mentioned Shirley Chisholm, she mentioned Geraldine Ferraro, she put herself in there, talked about the history, talked about the glass ceiling, full-heartedly endorsed Kamala, and she looked comfortable.
Yes. Yes, I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time, she looked at ease with herself and looked like she was having a good time.
She wasn't under pressure.
She wasn't under pressure.
Well, giving that speech was pressure, but I mean, she didn't have running for president underneath her to worry about, you know. Yeah, I think that's a big difference between Kamala and Hillary. I don't think Kamala looks like she's under pressure.
Well, they always said about Hillary Clinton that the public loves her when she's not running for office.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you know what? That crowd did love her. And I should say, because Christian will admit to this, Christian told me on Monday night, and Biden was the final speaker Monday night. Christian told me in the room Hillary got the biggest response that night and sent me a message and said, I was wrong. Hillary Clinton is a great surrogate and a great speaker. And they did. They cheered her when she came out.
You know,
yes.
he probably was too young to really remember a whole lot about Hillary. I think, you know, I noticed that he was not big fans of either one. And I think that it's just all the talk that's been since that he's listened to. He really didn't hear them when they were in office.
Well, being 18, he would have been 10
Yeah.
when she ran for
But
president.
I don't know. He could have been terrific at 10,
He
too.
could have been.
The way he is now, he's really got it.
Well, it's interesting to me that Hillary, by the way, is writing a book, and she will be on a book tour during the fall.
What's it about, do you know?
You know, I don't know what the I think it's basically positive messages.
Oh.
So she'll be out on the book tour, and I'm sure she'll have some things to say on the book tour in the home stretch of the presidential election.
Yeah.
It's a good time to sell a book during the political season. Now, what I found very interesting, the Monday night was Joe Biden's goodbye. He is the sitting president. To be honest with you, of every speech I've heard, and we've still got 2 nights to go, that to me was a very peculiar speech. I thought it was interesting that Biden did not get a bigger reception than Hillary, and I also thought it was interesting when his daughter let him off stage. It was kind of it was a melodramatic moment. I think it was a sad moment. I think for a lot of people. How did you take it, Mary Ellen?
I thought he gave a terrific speech.
The speech was good. The speech was good. He full-heartedly endorsed Kamala. I just thought it was interesting that here the sitting president, here the man who was the candidate for the Democrats 2 months ago, did not get the reception that Hillary Clinton got just a couple hours earlier in the night.
Well, I missed Hillary's reception. I heard the speech, but somehow I missed the reception. But I thought Biden got a tremendous reception.
He did. I mean, I
Yeah.
think he did.
It went on forever.
Yeah. Oh, he did.
Okay.
He got a good reception, but I think that was interesting. I think I think people were crying when his daughter came out and they walked off.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it was supposed to be. Maybe that was just the closing of a very public chapter of his life.
Well, it would have been. I mean, how do you know what his feelings are?
Oh, they have to be awful.
Yeah. I mean, he's standing there looking at the crowd that he could have been accepting the nomination for, and here he is leaving, and he doesn't want to leave. He thinks he can still do a good job, and he probably can. That's the thing. It's just that he's just getting to the point where people are worried about it,
Well, the thing, I mean, that is part, I think, of the salt in the wound, is that, he is not at the game that he was 10 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But then the other part of that has to be, here Kamala Harris, your vice president, gets in, and she breaks all the records. And she's drawing record-breaking crowds. And the polls all turn around.
And it wouldn't have for him.
And that's got to make you feel...
It's got to be hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's got to be hard. Now,
Right.
one thing I have noticed, Nancy Pelosi, who's right there in the
Yeah,
front row...
right.
I'm telling you, there is bad blood there. She has got those "I love you, Joe" signs, and every
Yeah.
night she's. I don't think those two are talking. I think there's There's some anger there.
Very well could be,
Yeah.
but did you notice where they were when they gave the votes for California?
didn't.
She was right beside Gavin Newsom.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. She was right there. I said, there she is.
And by the way, Nancy, who's older, we won't say her age, but she's older than Joe Biden. She's not going anywhere. See, and
How old is she?
I don't want to get it wrong, but I think she's 84.
Is she?
I think she is.
I didn't remember. Yeah.
I know she. Yeah, you gonna double check that for me, Nancy Pelosi's
Yeah.
age here. We'll have to get it right. Yeah, but I'm sure she's older than Biden at this point. I know she's in her what is that, midish 80s. And she's running again. So,
Yeah,
but they are
Yeah.
now mostly. The reports I've seen this week is that 84. Oh, I got it right. All right.
Good.
Now I win the lotto. I should play 8-4 in the lotto this week. So she's 3 years older than Biden. So I think there's some resentment there. And then here she's running for office, and they are all pretty well saying now that she's the one who put the pressure on him, saying you need to get out.
Well, I mean, I don't think that the Democrats ever said to Biden that he was too old to run for president. I think that the conversation was more, we don't think you can win.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think that, age was ever really the problem. It was the problem for the voter, I guess. That was the perception, at least.
Can you imagine how careful Kamala had to be during that time period when they were going through whether Biden should run again or not? Can you imagine that? Think about that for a moment.
I'm sure she never had a conversation with anybody. I'm sure she was as quiet as a mouse when that was all
or she could have been encouraging him to stay in. I mean, I just wondered how that went, because that would be very difficult.
Pelosi speaks tonight, so we don't know what she's going to say, but I bet you there will be a lot of love to Joe Biden, because I don't think they're speaking on the telephone right now. It's unfortunate that happens, but you can understand.
Well, it's life.
It's life.
Yeah.
It goes on.
Yeah.
We moved to night number 2 after it was a little melodramatic that night. Again, not melodramatic I guess it was sad in a way to see Joe Biden's career, thank you, Joe, and come to an end. Did you find it sad, Matt?
I think my favorite line in the whole speech he gave was America, I gave you my best years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's Monday night. I think left people sad that even though they wanted him to go, that this is over. Mm-hmm. This is the last big public hurrah.
Yeah.
So, but then Tuesday night. Well, I'll tell you what. Tuesday night, that place, the roof could have come off. And let's start, by the way, usually we would never mention the roll call, but I have never seen a roll call like that in my life with a DJ on stage.
Oh, that was
playing.
Wasn't that good?
I tell you,
Yeah.
I never, and even the anchors at all the networks, and I was watching Network NBC, they were saying, this crowd is electric. It's like a party going on out there.
No, I did not watch
And you can see, by the way, Christian and Governor Strickland in those photos.
So I've watched
Or in the video.
the Republican convention this year and the Democratic convention, but those are the only two national conventions that I've ever watched. And the Democratic National Convention has a lot of energy in it that the Republican convention just didn't seem to have.
Yeah.
23,000 people is the capacity of the United Center, and they say it's standing room only, so there's probably 23,000 plus in there. And that's fascinating.
And everybody's trying to get down on the floor.
And not doing very well at...
And it's a fight.
It is a fight. Well, Mary Ellen, you've been in part of those roll calls, being in the delegation from Ohio. Mm-hmm. What is it like? What did you make of all that music and that DJing and all that, all the young people?
The other night I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter. This was all just show because everything was established. Otherwise, it's they're voting for different people at the convention. A lot of times it wasn't just one candidate.
And it was a show.
Yeah.
I mean, they put on a show. They had a DJ up there. They had the lady calling it out. They had the screen working. And even when the people, the delegations were calling out their support, they did it in such an interesting way, pouncing the microphones around and doing all of that. Mm-hmm. You know, one of my favorite pictures, Mary Ellen, I think it's in the video that we used when we went to all the schools earlier in the year. It was you and John Glenn, and I believe it was the 96 convention, which would have been Clinton's second term. You and John Glenn in the Ohio delegation together holding Go Bucks sign.
Yeah.
What was that like to be a part of the delegation with the late John Glenn?
Oh, it was great. And it wasn't only John Glenn, it was Annie, his wife, and all my other friends. I mean, I knew everybody practically. It was just a lot of fun. And I didn't want to miss one speech. I wanted to hear all the speeches. And when it was Mondale and the people that didn't win, it wasn't as much fun.
When you were Treasurer of the United States, which would have been that 96 convention, what was it like to go there, part of the administration?
Oh, it was great.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
it was always a lot of fun. You'd get there the first day, you were saying hello to everybody, and seeing everybody and talking to everybody, and that's just the way it was the whole time. It was just so much fun.
You know, it's very interesting. Governor Strickland called in this morning with Christian. They used the same phone, and I interviewed him jointly, and it was funny because Christian is the youngest delegate from Ohio, youngest delegate, period, at the convention. And the oldest delegate from Ohio is Governor Strickland at 84.
Really?
And this morning, right before I went on live with him, I thought, well, I can call Christian the youngest, but I don't say we also have the oldest on that. So I said we have the most mature. and Governor Strickland came on, who's got a great sense of humor, and he said, Scott, I want to thank you for being so sensitive, for not calling me the oldest delegate here. But he's there at 84, and he's getting 4 hours of sleep every night, and he's having a great time.
Yes, I'll bet.
Knowing Governor Strickland, Mary Ellen, does that surprise you at 84?
No, he's doing fine.
I bet he will be out campaigning.
I bet he will be too. My daughter has been campaigning, Linda.
Is that right?
She campaigned last Saturday for 2.5 hours. And she said, and she's done this for several years, and she said the reception was a lot different this year than it was other years. People were more friendly, and so that tells you something right there.
Well, and we should mention, I mean, it'll be over by the time this gets out on Friday, but tomorrow night, Thursday night, the night that Kamala Harris does her acceptance speech, more or less, Mary Ellen will be speaking at a campaign event, and I've never heard of this. Women in Marion, Ohio, who support Kamala Harris. She'll be speaking at that event.
Yeah, we've had those for other people. Yeah,
but I have not seen in recent years. And I don't remember that for Hillary.
Oh, yes, we did. Yeah.
Were there events?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I must have missed them. I didn't. I guess this is more public.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm thinking back to. Some previous, I guess. I'm not so sure about. I thought we had some for Hillary, but maybe we didn't. Or maybe I wasn't invited. You never know.
Well, you're back this year.
Yeah, right.
You're back this year, and it'll be a big night, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to cover the Obama speech from last night. And again, I want to talk about who's introducing Tim Walz, the vice president, tonight. I think that choice was very, very interesting. I don't think anybody predicted that, and Mary Ellen knows that person quite well. So we're going to come back right after this.
Who is it?
Back with Mary Ellen and Matt, and we're talking about the Democratic Convention here. Now, I do want to go back and pick up two names that I forgot who have already spoken. Then we'll get to who's introducing Governor Walz tonight in his acceptance speech as vice president for the Democratic Party. AOC on Monday, who a lot of people, back in 2020, she was not really a part of the convention at all. It was a virtual convention, but I think people thought she was way too liberal, way outside of what you would want speaking at the party. But she got a good reception on Monday night.
She's very popular. She really is.
What do you think of AOC, Matt?
I thought AOC's speech, I thought she did well. She got a lot of interaction from the crowd, although the crowd seemed to like her speech a lot. So there's that. And she obviously, she puts a lot of energy into her speech.
Yes.
Like a lot of people will get up there and they just kind of like just I don't know, it just kind of seems like they're just talking to the crowd. But she, she was up there and she had some fire behind her.
She said she'd go back to being a bartender. She'd go back to being a bartender if she had to.
Because that's what people do.
You like a lot of action when they're speaking?
I like him to. I don't like action per se. I guess I just like him to have some like fire behind, like she did. Like she.
Okay.
You could just tell that she cared about what she was talking about because of how she was talking about it.
Okay.
On Tuesday night, Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that, Mary Ellen?
Well, I just don't think he's very interesting.
He had a little bit of fire.
Well, but not much.
Well, it's getting to that point in his life as well where the fire is not.
He's after the things he's after, and he keeps trying to do that, and that's Bernie.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt? Bernie Sanders.
I think Mary Ellen pretty good and well got it. He just got up there and listed off all the things that he would like to see happen,
Yeah.
and then that was about his speech.
Then on Tuesday night, and this is I think Hillary on Monday stole the show from Biden, and on Tuesday Michelle Obama comes out.
Wasn't she good?
My goodness.
And what about him too?
He was good, but I'll tell you that I think she nailed it last night. And I was looking at all the newspapers this morning, and they weren't really quoting him. They were quoting her.
Yeah.
Because she, I think, got about 15 years of frustration out of her system. And I was shocked. My jaw hit the floor at home.
Why?
Because this is the former first lady, who went through the birther thing with Donald Trump, who went through the Hillary campaign, who went through the Biden campaign, never said a thing. When they go low, we go high. She would never speak directly to it. And last night, she went right into it for the first time. And she said, and I'm paraphrasing, I wish I had the quote in front of me, but she said basically, Donald Trump had a problem with me and my husband because we were black. And she said, and she even got a laugh line out. Does he know that the job he's running is maybe one of those black jobs he's talking about? She went right in on it, Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
Do you think she was getting it off her chest after all these years?
Well, she sure did a good job on that speech. I loved the way she said things. She's very good at it.
She did a great job of saying, no matter what the polls say, don't stop until it's over.
Yeah.
Don't stop until it's over.
Yeah.
And she also made race an issue last night. There was no doubt about it.
Well, it was they used that against them. I mean, that was used against them the whole time they were in there.
And that's why I thought, but they never really addressed it until last night.
You don't think?
I don't think he really ever, he showed his birth certificate when he had to.
Mm-hmm.
He made fun of Donald Trump at that correspondence dinner.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, I don't think I'd ever heard her speak to it. And I don't remember him speaking. He really didn't speak directly to it last night. He kind of stayed away from it, but he gave a great speech.
Well, I remember her speech at the end of the last campaign for Biden, and she did a wonderful job then too. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I think last night there was also a combination. Her mother has just died, and they didn't know if she was going to speak or not because she's still obviously grieving for her mother.
How long ago was that?
Not too long, maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
And I think that she decided to show up, and I think she was energized because of it, because she said, if I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And I think it was a very powerful speech. I think more powerful than President Obama. I think she got the bigger headlines last night. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, I think that's probably right. I think the line about Trump probably looking for one of those black jobs. I think that that was probably one of the best lines of the whole thing so far.
For Michelle Obama to say that, I mean, I was laying in bed at that point, and my phone just started ding, 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 ding. Oh yeah, that was the line.
Who was calling you?
It was everybody. I was getting messages basically saying, did you hear that? Did you hear what she said? That was so funny. She nailed him.
Yeah.
People love that line. It held. I believe it held up. And then Obama spoke, and I think he knew it. Because first thing he said when he came
Yeah.
out is, who would be stupid
Yeah,
enough to
yeah, right.
follow Michelle Obama? And I think he
Yeah.
knew what had happened.
Well, she's got a talent for speaking. I don't care. I don't know who writes her speeches, but I imagine she has a lot to do with it.
President Obama has always given a great speech. He did it last night. What do you think the message was?
Get out and vote.
Yeah, I think that
No
was...
matter what you think or vote.
Yeah, there was also the one where he had said something about Donald Trump and the whole crowd started to boo, and he said, "Don't boo, vote."
Vote. That was good. Yeah. He's done that before too. I heard him do that before. Yeah.
So I think he had great effect last night.
I think he. Oh, sorry.
I think it's hard though to come off. Obama, who's a great speaker and an historic president for obviously being an African American. It's interesting because this year he really got sandwiched. You have Joe Biden leaving in this incredibly strange way. So you have all these melodramatics on Monday, and then you have the vice president and the president taking their nominations. So I think he got sandwiched on this weird night of the convention, and I think overall it will probably be, not that it wasn't good, but I think it will be the least remembered night. Because people will care what Walz has to say, people will care that Bill Clinton is introducing him, people will care that, certainly Harris will be the big story, but I think Biden leaving will be a big story as well. So I think, unfortunately, Obama was on the arch night.
I think people will remember what he said.
I think
I
so.
think Obama's speech was good.
Yeah.
His speech was all about unity for the most part.
Yeah.
But do you think it'll have the impact that Biden had, or that Harris will have, or that, well, the candidate always gets all the press, and that Walz will have?
I haven't heard Walz yet. I think Walz will probably be a little bit funny. Don't you think
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
a little bit funny?
Well, and that's the point I was going to get to here. We haven't heard that yet, so I guess we can't say. But I think it's very interesting. You have three former and one, well, you have three presidents speaking at this campaign on each night leading up to the fourth night with Harris, and they put Bill Clinton with Walz, and he is the last president to speak. And I think there's something to that we'll know later on tonight.
You mean that he's a good speaker?
I think he's a good speaker.
He is.
I think that
Pretty hard to beat Bill Clinton.
That's what I say. I think
Yeah.
people give Obama a lot of credit, and I'm not saying he's not a good speaker, but I think Bill Clinton tonight is going to lay it down.
Yeah.
And I think he will be the one. That's what I'm saying. I think he'll be the one people remember.
Yeah.
I think.
The way I think about the both of them, Clinton says things in a simpler manner.
Southern.
Yes.
Arkansas.
And Obama, his is a little bit deeper, but Clinton is easy to listen to.
Well, my thought was here I don't think they want, honestly, as horrible as this sounds, I think they wanted Biden in there on night one, and then let's not talk about him anymore.
But everybody mentions him.
Right,
You know.
but thank you. But I
Yeah.
think let's not have him here. Let's move on after night one.
Yeah.
Obama is from Chicago. That's a big city. He has a history with Donald Trump. He's an African American male. Bill Clinton really has no history with Donald Trump. Bill Clinton was a popular president. Bill Clinton is a white-haired man. Walz is a white-haired man. Walz is from Minnesota. That's not the big city. Bill Clinton's from Arkansas. That's not the big city. Bill Clinton was from Hope. Wasn't that? Yeah, he's from Hope.
Yeah.
I just think if you want somebody to introduce you, Obama and Walz really don't go together.
Uh-huh.
I think Bill Clinton.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah, I think Bill Clinton's the one. And I think it will also, I think Bill Clinton has not been president for 24 years. And I think when he walks out there tonight and he's not campaigning for his wife and he's not campaigning for Obama, I think you might see the old Bill Clinton tonight.
Have you heard him speak?
I have not.
Probably
no.
not. Because he was before your time. But boy, he can give a speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say,
And the spit just flies. Yeah.
he can do it.
Yeah.
He can do it.
Right.
He has that way about him.
Oh, yeah. And
That-
everybody loves him. I mean, I tell you that people would say they didn't like him, and then after they talked to him for 2 minutes, they would be patting him on the back and everything.
Well, the Bushes became friends with him.
Oh, yeah.
The friends. Now,
Yeah.
and
I mean, that's the way he is.
well, and he beat Father Bush, ended
Yeah.
his presidency.
Yeah, I don't know that I could ever be friends with somebody
What-
that
talk-
I ran
And
against.
it's about, talk about Pelosi and Biden can't make up. Clinton made up with the Bushes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I remember they asked George Bush Sr. about that one time, and that was a nasty campaign in '92 with Clinton trying to unseat Bush and doing that. And they said, "How can you be friends with Bill Clinton?" And George Bush said, "It is impossible not to like Bill Clinton."
That's right.
Yeah.
It was.
And that's what I always thought when people would say Obama, Obama, Obama. I understand we all remember the Lewinsky whoop-de-doo, and that hurts Bill Clinton in the long run in history. But Obama did not get along in Washington like Clinton did.
No, he didn't. And I always noticed that.
It's
Yes.
very important to note
Yeah,
that.
I noticed that from the beginning, but I felt that he was a good president, but he's a very reserved person,
Yeah,
and Clinton is not reserved. He's just out there for everybody.
I don't think anybody ever said of Obama that he was likable. I think he's reserved.
Yeah. Yes, yeah,
He didn't really get along with certain people. Bill Clinton, like I said, his enemies came to like him. Just something about Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said last week, one of the points I was making when Buckeye Guy was here, Bill Clinton was asked to speak at Muhammad Ali's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Obama had been president at that time. If if Muhammad Ali, he chose the speakers for his funeral.
did he?
Yes, if he wanted Barack Obama, I'm sure he could have had him.
Yeah.
He wanted Bill Clinton.
Uh-huh.
Because there is something about Bill Clinton, whether you liked him or hated him. He spoke at Coretta Scott King's funeral.
Yes, he did.
Where nobody, I just, and I think we're going to see that tonight.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Yeah.
Are you excited about Bill Clinton, Matt? After that build up, how can you not be?
Just about as excited.
we've got him going now.
We got him going.
He's not even on yet.
No,
we got
no.
him going.
And it's interesting because we haven't seen Bill Clinton for a while.
Well, you've seen pictures of him, but they have not treated him well because of the Monica thing. And then I think when Hillary ran, he said some things he shouldn't have said, and they didn't want him to speak. But and it seems like he's been shut out a little bit.
Well, you know what I think that's been, and we've talked about this a little bit. Certainly the Lewinsky thing does hang there, but also the only person he was not a good campaigner for was his wife.
Well, yeah, he got himself in trouble. I forget what he said. It wasn't anything bad, but it didn't go over well.
No, it didn't play well for her. And I think he and Obama are friendly, but I don't think they're friends.
No.
I mean, because I don't think Hillary and Obama are necessarily close either, because they had a contentious
they
run,
did.
and I think Clinton's a part of that. Oh, and by the way, how could we forget, and not to build up Bill Clinton anymore, but history's important. I mean, we remember the Lewinsky thing, but I think George W. Bush was president. You remember when the two journalists got trapped in North Korea and they were not going to release them? Lisa Ling's sister and...
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And now North Korea is not friendly. Kim Jong-il, I think, was still in power then. Bush was president, and Kim Jong-il asked for Bill Clinton.
Really?
Yeah, and when Bill Clinton came back, he had the hostages.
Really? I didn't remember that.
That's true.
Yeah.
100%. Bill Clinton has a cachet around the world with people that Obama didn't have, doesn't have, and I don't think Biden had. It's interesting. And by the way, Bill Clinton's younger than Joe Biden. Not that age means anything, but he's about 3 years younger.
Is he?
Yeah, I think Bill Clinton and Trump are the same age.
Are they?
So I think
Yeah.
78.
Oh.
But there it is. Bill Clinton and Walz. Okay. Excited about Harris?
Her speech?
Yeah, now after that Bill Clinton build-up, I don't know what Thursday night will be. It'll be kind of anticlimactic now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I'm excited for her speech. I think that I've seen her give speeches now a couple of times at rallies and whatnot, and I think she's a good speaker. I think that she herself has had quite a bit of build up at the convention, so I think that but Thursday when she's there giving her acceptance speech, I think she's primed.
I want to know who the build-up's going to be for her, because I do think that's important. I think you got to have a good lead-in.
Well, okay, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, we know she doesn't want to go long, because that's what they dinged Trump for, was going too long.
Oh, heavens, that was horrible.
Yes.
An hour and a half.
Look, I have nothing against a long speech. It was just an hour and a half.
It's too much.
90 minutes is a little bit much, yeah.
Well, and I don't think they want to start late either. I think they want to start early enough with her, maybe 9, 10, somewhere in that area, so she can get it in before people are going to bed, because I think that hurt Trump in the end.
I think that hurt Biden a little bit. I think people got tired and probably went to sleep.
Well, I think the people running the convention the next morning said, "Ooh, we planned that out badly on Monday. That was we did." And last night Obama was done by 11:30, I think, so it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
And maybe tonight they'll run it a little closer. The crowds that Harris is drawing, Mary Ellen, my goodness, last night she...
Oh, isn't that terrific?
What do you think it is?
Oh, they like her.
They like her.
They would not come if they didn't like her. And her speeches, I've said this, I think she does a wonderful job with her speeches. I just wonder if anybody worked with her or if she did that on her own.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to find out how that all goes and what she will have to say. Now, will she acknowledge, I'm sure she'll acknowledge Biden in her speech.
Yeah.
But will she acknowledge the female lineage that Hillary Clinton did with Hillary and Shirley Chisholm and Geraldine Ferraro? I think she would almost have to at this point.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Are you excited for Harris, Matt?
Didn't you already ask this question?
Did I? I said, what do you think? What do you expect from Harris?
Okay.
We'll have to replay the tape to find out if I did or not. It might have happened.
So, all right, what do I expect from Harris?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I asked that before.
Not what do you expect, but you asked what I don't know. I guess you just thought. I don't know. I guess you thought. I thought you asked what I would think about her speech. I expect she's probably gonna go out there and I think she's probably going to give, a good speech, but I think she's probably going to go out there and she's going to hit on abortion. And I think she's going to go out there
will.
And she's going to hit on the gun violence topic. And I think she's going to go out there and she'll also probably mention she'll also probably, get a couple shots in at Donald Trump as as they like to do. I think, yeah.
So what do you expect from Harris? I'm kidding. I'll go for 3. Why not? I did 2.
I was waiting for that.
I'll just hang back and see if we can get it in again. The convention overall, though, the people, you got to take your hat off to those people.
Well, I'll tell you, those are the strong Democrats of the country.
Well,
we all got the same. You've got the same interests, except. Now, the first one I went to was when they were running against Carter. Ted Kennedy was running against Carter. Now, that is not a friendly situation when you have that at the convention, because we were very nervous because they said they were going to be shooting people. And somebody set some balloons off, and we thought they were shooting people.
What?
Yeah.
What have you made? I mean, there's been a little bit of coverage by the networks of this protest outside the Democratic convention.
Yeah, but they haven't. I haven't heard them talk about that.
Not a whole lot.
I was glad of that, and then I listened to the head of Chicago, the Daily guy. I knew his father. I talked to his father when he was alive.
Oh, Richard Daley. Wow.
Yeah, he was
well known.
Yes, he was an interesting guy, but I think Yeah, he was there a long time. Yeah.
I think they've named some things after Richard J. Daley.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was also interesting, I thought, that the United Auto Workers were there
Yes.
and called Trump a scab.
Yes, wasn't that shirt?
That was very...
That was the shirt item.
that was very interesting.
Yes.
You know, Mary Ellen, we knocked the Democrats for so long for not having unity, not having their game together, not having a good message. Doesn't seem to be a problem now.
No, they're doing great.
Yeah. What do you think turned them around?
Kamala.
Good candidate.
A good candidate can do that, and believe me, she is.
Matt, we've talked about it. Do you still believe it's situational and not about the person? Because there are still some people, not just you, who do feel that this is the situation she was thrust into. She's not an older white man. Do you think that's driving her popularity? I think if that were the case, that would have worn off by now.
I mean,
The people at that convention seem crazy. I mean, they're just screaming and yelling. I mean, that's not a normal...
Oh, yes, it is.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I don't know. I look back at the Hillary... I was looking back at the Hillary convention and Jimmy Carter's, and they were a little more subdued.
Reserved.
A little more reserved.
Well, but there's always screaming, and that's why I remember the screaming and the yelling. Yeah.
When the balloons come down.
Yeah, right. Oh, and I wonder. I hope they have balloons.
Oh, they do. I saw them the other night.
Oh, good.
They're already up there. They've got the balloons ready to go.
Well, you know, they had a thing for a cracked ceiling for Hillary. I always wondered how that was going to be.
Wouldn't it? We all wanted her to win, just see how that
Yeah,
ceiling was going to turn out at the Javits Center. Yeah, that's true. They held it at the Javits Center in New York, which is all glass, and apparently they were going to shatter a glass ceiling that night. Well, of course, she didn't win, so that
They saved the ceiling.
saved the ceiling.
Yeah.
So we never knew what was going to happen there.
well, I never really.
That had to be a rough night for Hillary. Talk about rough nights in the history of politics.
Oh boy.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that went. I mean, it's still a rough night for her.
Oh,
Yeah, it never goes away.
I think that's why she was so into it the other night.
Yeah.
I think it was her chance to
Yeah.
get out there again.
Yeah.
Why is she so? I guess divisive. There's a lot of people who just don't like her.
I had a guy that came and I met with today that was a strong Democrat, and we were talking about Hillary, and he said she came across as, she said, when she talked to men, they felt like they couldn't go along with what she wanted to do. That feeling of not wanting to cooperate with her. And I thought, you know, that might be it, because she was hard to give instructions, is the way I would put it, that they would resent taking instructions from her. Do you think there's anything to that?
There could be. I always thought the Hillary problem was twofold. I thought, number one, she had too much of a history by the time she ran for president. She had a husband who cheated on her. I think women felt a little
that was
funny
a
about
problem
that.
too. Yeah.
And then I think she'd been the senator during 9/11, and she'd run a presidential campaign against Obama, in which she did very well, so I think the Obama people were a little hesitant against her. And then she was a very strong Secretary of State under a popular administration. I mean, she's the one who went to Vladimir Putin and said, "You're having false elections over here." and I think that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah.
I don't know that Kamala Harris would do that. And I think that was Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton was a valedictorian from Wellesley. From the moment she went into the White House as the First Lady, she wanted to take over health care. She wanted to be a part of the administration.
I think her husband wanted her to take over health care.
I don't think it did her any favors, though, in the
No,
media.
it didn't do her any favors, but I think it was his idea that she take over health.
Because I think overall, and I'm not downing Kamala here, but I think if we're going on savvy, smart, political women, I think Hillary Clinton's still the woman. I think Kamala comes across better.
Yes, she does.
I think she's more
Yeah.
likable.
Yes, and it's hard to describe, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But I think Hillary Clinton knows more.
Oh, she knows so much from what she was. Being Secretary of State, you know everything.
Well, and I just think coming in, she ran healthcare, tried to get national healthcare in 92, 93.
And that didn't go well.
No, and that didn't go well for her. She was senator from New York during 9/11, got health care for first responders. My gosh, she was the Secretary of State when bin Laden was captured and killed. You know, this is a woman who I don't think I've ever seen. Hillary is a tough woman, and I think that comes across not so well. And I think people, because of her husband, as well as we've spoken of Bill Clinton here, I think people feel they have an arranged marriage, and I think people didn't like that.
Well, there's been a lot of those.
There have been. I'm not sure that their marriage is arranged.
Roosevelt had.
They certainly had one of those.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not sure theirs is arranged. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I think
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton had the Eleanor Roosevelt factor. People hated Eleanor Roosevelt
They did.
because they felt she told her husband what to do, and I think there was a little bit of that with Hillary.
But he told her what to do.
I think he.
He told her where to go and what to find out for him. Yeah.
But she, FDR, used her politically.
Yeah.
And I don't think, not as outwardly, other first ladies until Hillary did that happen again. And I think that was Eleanor Roosevelt's problem, and I think it was Hillary's problem. Kamala doesn't have that problem because she is the first in her family to do this.
You know, I remember when they criticized Carter for Rosalind sat in on their meetings, and they criticized her for that. And it's so ridiculous, some of the things that people decide to criticize for.
Well, and it's interesting because when you look at first ladies, and often we forget that Hillary was one because she did become Secretary of State, she did run for president, she did all those things, so her time as first lady almost is an afterthought at this point.
Yeah, it is.
But, you know, first ladies, Betty Ford certainly had a hand in Jerry Ford's presidency. Nancy Reagan definitely had a hand in Ronald Reagan's. Barbara Bush had a hand in George H.W. Bush's.
Yep.
They just did it a little less heavy-handed than Hillary Clinton did it. I think if indeed Bill Clinton did want her in that position, I don't think he did her any political favors by having her office in the West Wing, where the First Lady's always had an office in the East Wing. I don't think that helped her.
Oh, really?
Right off the, and then Whitewater. People
Well,
can Google that, I guess.
I mean, they started out with that one. That was the beginning.
So when they talk about Trump being investigated through his whole presidency, look at Bill Clinton. I don't think he ever had a moment's peace in his presidency either.
No.
So there you go. We're down to a minute here. Mary Ellen, overall, 2 nights in, what do you make of this convention so far?
It's terrific.
It's,
It's just a terrific
it's something.
convention.
Matt, what have you made?
Oh, I think the convention so far has been great. I think there's a lot of energy, and I don't know if this is how conventions usually run, but it's nice.
It's different. And by the way, Christian will be back next week, and we'll all get together again, and we'll talk about Bill Clinton, we'll talk about Walz, we'll talk about Harris, we'll then know who introduced her, and we'll know what RFK did next week, and has it impacted the polls at all. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week, and we'll tell you about the watch party with Harris that Mary Ellen will be speaking at tomorrow night, Thursday night. So, for all of us here at The Exchange, for Matt Morgan, Mary Ellen Withrow, this is Scott Spears, heading for the dugout.